number one thing in the e-commerce space that we deal with our clients is their belief that if they just got more traffic, their problems would go away. Like, if I could just get more traffic, I would make more sales. If I could just get cheaper traffic, I'd be profitable. It's always traffic related. And the reality is, traffic is not your problem in e-commerce. It never is the problem. There is an infinitely abundant amount of traffic available out there that will convert for you if you're set up and able to handle it.
Heroes are an inspiring group of people. Every one of them, from the larger-than-life comic book heroes you see on the big silver screen to the everyday heroes that let us live the privileged lives we do. Every hero has a story to tell. The doctor saving lives at your local hospital, the war veteran down the street who risked his lives for our freedom, the police officers and firefighters who risk their safety to ensure ours. Every hero is special and every story worth telling, but there is one class of heroes that I think is often ignored. The entrepreneur, the creator, the producer, the ones who look at the problems in this world and think to themselves, you know what? I can fix that. I can help people, and I can make a difference. Then they go out and do exactly that by creating a new product or introducing a new service. Some go on to change the world, others make a world of difference to their customers. Welcome to The Hero Show. Join us as we pull back the masks of the world's finest heropreneurs and learn the secrets to their powers, their success, and their influence, so you can use those secrets to attract more sales, make more money, and experience more freedom in your business. I'm your host, Richard Matthews, and we are on in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to The Hero Show. My name is Richard Matthews, and I have a treat for you today. I've got Tanner Larsson of Build, Grow, Scale with me today. Tanner, are you there?
I'm here. How's it going?
Awesome. Glad to have you here. We are, as you know, in the midst of our COVID crisis, and we have picked up steam on our podcast. We're publishing every other day now, just to get some cool stories out. So I was excited to get you on to talk a little bit about what it is that you guys do. So to start off with, tell me what it is that you guys are known for now. What is it that Build, Grow, Scale does, and why do people come to you?
So what we're really known for is taking e-commerce stores and turning them into behemoths, like profit-pulling machines. Our Build, Grow, Scale is a e-commerce data optimization company. We basically are the geeks behind the scenes who can go in there, look at all this crazy data that most people don't even know exists, analyze that data, and turn it around into helping stores make way more money from the traffic they're already getting. Our kind of claim to fame is that we can usually double a store's revenue within 60 to 90 days with no increase in advertising.
Yeah, that is ridiculously cool, and I've seen that firsthand because of the work you and I have done together,
Yep.
and seen you take sites from 1% and 2% and 3% conversion rates to 4%, 5%, 6% conversion rates,
Yep.
doing whatever mystical, magical wizardry you guys do over there. So it's really
Definitely
really cool.
some wizardy stuff. We have to wave our hands and do some chants and stuff like that.
Yeah, dance around and do some rain chants or whatever and make it rain.
Totally.
So. Absolutely. So what I want to find out from you is your origin story, right? We talk on this show, every hero has an origin story. It's where you started to realize that you were different, that maybe you had superpowers and maybe you could use them to help other people. How did you get started on this entrepreneurial journey, whether it was with Build, Grow, Scale or, your first, venture into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it really started a long time ago. I could give you the whole, like I had the candy store and the lemonade stand and the stuff like that, because I did, but that's just what kids do. The more entrepreneurial aspect of it, like I've always wanted to be in business and liked that kind of thing and thought that way. But it wasn't until I got hired as a window cleaner as a job that my mom found me, because one of her teacher friends had a side business and needed someone to work for him, and I was out of work. And I started doing that. And I was learning how to clean windows, which is not rocket science, and basically running this business for this guy because he was a full-time teacher. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know anything about business, but this guy's an idiot. Like, I could do this. And he wasn't treating me very well. And I was like, okay, screw this. Like, I'm going to go do it on my own. So that was it. Like, I went out, I printed a bunch of flyers. That day I was in business practically. I hired my sister to help me and, fell face forward into it, and priced myself almost out of business because I didn't know what I was doing. And I basically was cleaning houses for free at the price I was charging it. It was taking so long. And little by little, I stuck with it. And that turned into a big business, because I realized that I actually had to learn how to do it and do business right. And I started studying and looking at other services and became a student of direct response marketing and all of that stuff. And turned out growing that business into a very large window cleaning and exterior building maintenance company. And then we also, in the winter, we supplemented with Christmas lights. And we had a luxury Christmas light division that actually made more money in 60 days than we made all year cleaning windows. Right about the time, and that was growing really, really well. I also thought, because that was during the economic boom before, right? In the mid 2000s,
Yeah,
early
before 2008.
Yeah, when it was just, where we were in Reno was growing 18% a quarter. Homes were going up like crazy. And I couldn't hire people fast enough to keep up with demand. And I thought I was God's gift to business, not realizing anything else. I'd never grown a business during a slow time, but only in a good time, right?
Yeah.
And that was great. But about right before the crash, right before 2008, I think it was like 2007, 6, 7, I went blind in my left eye. And I had to have a cornea transplant, and they put me on a donor list. And when that happened, the healing process was 2 years. And I couldn't go outside. I couldn't lift anything over 5 pounds. I had to stay indoors, and like, I couldn't even finish school. Like, all this stuff was bad because I couldn't carry a textbook. So I had to withdraw. And at that time, like, I had some people in my life that I considered early mentors and stuff. And they're like, hey, your numbers look good. You can't run your business. You can't be involved in it the way you were, because it wasn't structured in a way that I could absent myself from it. He's like, maybe you should look at selling. So I sold, and luckily I did, because within 8 months, everything started tanking. And what's the first thing that happens in a depression? Home services get cut.
Yeah.
So I got out well, decent there. And then I was living off savings, realizing that wasn't really awesome. And that was when I turned on the computer. And back in the day, in the early 2000s, I had done some eBay stuff and was a power seller. And I was a platinum power seller during that time. But I got sick of it because my house turned into a warehouse, and the technology wasn't there to do what we can do now. So
Yeah.
I quit doing that. I kind of got off the computer and was like, man, that's way too much work. I don't want to do that. I'm going to do my window cleaning stuff. And then when I sold the business, I had nothing, was living off savings. That was when I started looking back at the internet and going, hey, well, this eBay thing actually did work. I made good money. What else can I do? And that was when I stumbled onto info products, and I found ClickBank. And I was like, oh man, this thing looks amazing. How about I create a course? And at the time I was like, what do I know? Window cleaning. So I created a how to create your own window cleaning business course called Streak Free Profits. And it was a multimedia course. Like, I went way overboard in this thing, like I do with everything. And I had downloadable marketing flyers, editable flyers, video training, a 300-page book of pricing guides, like all this stuff, this massive package, which I, of course, underpriced on ClickBank because that's what you do. And I held my breath and didn't make any money. And I didn't understand why I wasn't a millionaire when everybody on ClickBank's a millionaire. And then I realized that, hey, the online world is no different than a real business. It's just a different medium. So at that point, I started all over, started looking at direct response and how it applied to online, and became a student of that. And through the years, I went from info products into membership sites. I did the AdSense stuff. I did all of it. But all through that, I kept coming back to physical products. I always liked selling physical products. So it's a definite value of what you're getting. People know what they want. It's an even exchange. I also like the fact that with an info product, you had to write a 45-page sales letter to get someone to convince someone to buy it. Whereas you want my book, here it is. Or you want my can of soda,
like,
here it is.
Take
right?
a picture of it, take a nice quality picture.
So I really always liked that. And I started applying direct response to physical products and using funnels and more persuasive marketing techniques, which really at the time wasn't done. E-commerce was very antiquated, and it really worked well. And all of the stuff we were doing really blew up. We were making millions and millions of dollars doing that. We transitioned our products and built Amazon brands with those same products, and it just kind of scaled out into this e-com thing. And over the time, we started just getting more and more into that. And then we started realizing, more of the data side of things. And my current business partner, Matt Stafford, he and I joined up on a kitchen brand that we had. And it was one of those ones where we were scaling so fast, we were going broke. Because one of the things in e-commerce is cash flow sucks. So if you're not really good, and the hyper growth usually leads to massive inventory buys. And when you're turning over multiple types of inventory, purchasing raw materials in advance and having this, you don't usually have 3 to 5 different allotments of inventory in various stages of production at any one time. And those keep growing with scale when then you have ad spend and everything else. So pretty quickly, money is just not there. So I was supplementing with basically $200,000 worth of personal money every month to keep this massively growing business going, because eventually it would turn a profit, right? And we then, until it didn't, because what happened? Facebook changed. That's never happened to anybody, I'm sure. But anyway, Facebook changed, and all of a sudden what was working wasn't working anymore. And, you know, the store started tanking. So that was when Matt and I really got into, like, we threw everything we could at it, doing what everybody did. You're just guessing, throwing shit at the wall to figure out what sticks. And then we stumbled onto some of the data stuff. When we were doing basic data testing and things like that, like most companies do. But then we realized the power of Google Analytics, and we started really looking at deep stuff like different device segments and browser segments and things like that, and realizing that there's different conversion rates based on different types of browsers, different types of, like, someone on Chrome converts differently than someone on Safari, than someone on the iPhone X, than someone on an iPad versus a tablet or a Kindle, all these things. And you can optimize different levels of that simply by making tweaks. And when we started diving into that world, everything changed it all over again. And then all of a sudden it didn't matter what Facebook did or what Google did or anything else, because we were making so much money per batch of traffic that we purchased per customer. Our lifetime value was increasing, that we could afford, we could literally do what Dan Kennedy always says, which is he who can afford to pay the most to acquire a customer wins. We finally actually did that. And that's how Build, Grow, Scale evolved into what it is today. And now we are basically just a data geek company that optimizes e-commerce stores.
Yeah, that's a really cool story. And it's interesting that you got into e-commerce in the time which, if anyone who's been following along e-commerce forever, you were competing with the people who were, you know, taking screen grabs from the manufacturer website with their bullet points and the crappy pictures from, like, you know, the old flip cell phones, right? So you didn't have to do much to compete, right? If you know, you just took like a real picture and wrote some copy, you were winning. And you've seen that transition all the way through to today, where I call it the market consolidation, right? Where you have the wild west phase. We're no longer really in that wild west phase. You're seeing a lot of the shops and everything, and it's consolidating to the people who have skills.
Correct.
Right. And that's where
the
you
market's
guys are
evolved. The customer has evolved.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is, like you were just saying before we got on the phone call, that all of e-commerce before our nice, wonderful pandemic here only represented like 17% of the market.
Yeah. So that's actually even, you mentioned market consolidation, and that, like, the gold rush or gold period had ended. Honestly, I feel that because of this pandemic, we started the gold rush all over on e-com and digital sales. What I had said before on the call, e-commerce represents trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of spending a year. But up until recently, that only accounted to about 7 to 12% of shoppers. That was it. That was all that shopped online. Most of the world still doesn't shop online. However, now we're in this pandemic, we're quarantined, we're in shelter-in-place orders. The government's putting pressure on stores. Certain stores had to close already. Other retailers are being restricted on what items they're allowed to sell in stores. Some of the big box retailers in some states are now being told they can't sell frivolous items, like you can't sell TVs. They have to quarantine those areas off from the store.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures of Walmart closing off the closed sections and electronic sections. So depending on where you're at.
Yeah, but here's the thing. All these people are trapped, right? And they're bored out of their mind. So the internet's there. They're obviously going to be going online. And their desire and need to consume doesn't stop. Birthdays don't stop happening. Anniversaries don't stop happening. Clothes don't stop wearing out. Shoes don't stop wearing out. TVs don't stop breaking. All that, people still have to consume now. And also when you're bored, you consume more because you have nothing else to do with your time. So what we're seeing right now in our space, like on our Build, Grow, Scale, we have our amplified partner side of the company, where we actually partner with bigger brands and become the data optimization back end. You obviously know that, but for people watching, they don't. When I say our stores, I'm talking these partner stores. We're seeing an average of 4 to 5 times more traffic at any given time of the day on these stores. Not necessarily just from ads or whatever else, but like 4 to 5 times more traffic than usual, because there's so many more eyeballs on the internet. And our e-com insider members are seeing the same thing, our accelerator members.
And if you think about why that is, right? You know, I mean, we've heard a lot about the increased unemployment, but if you look at our numbers, we do have increased unemployment, but a huge section of our population doesn't, right? We still have a lot of people in the service industry. A lot of people are able to work at home. And there's a lot of money that's no longer being spent on restaurants, on your gas tank, on, on shopping elsewhere, right? And now it's all that energy and funding and monetary stuff is being redirected to online spending. So it's absolutely, it's changing the game. And what I think is interesting, and we'll see how this plays out, but I really think that what we've done will have a massive impact on future economic stuff, because
100%.
we've taken a whole group of people who may not have, just like for instance, my mother is not a fan of shopping online because it's not like, she's just not used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when you force her to shop online, now you create a skill set she didn't have before.
Correct.
Right. Same thing.
And a level of comfort.
Yeah, and a level of comfort that you didn't have before. And that same thing applies all across the board with everything from homeschooling to, working from home. We're going to have a whole segment of our population that now has a baseline level of skills they didn't have before. It's like we're going to take a 10-year jump in skill set for the population.
100%.
Right?
The whole back to normal business as usual will never happen again. We are literally creating a new normal as we move through this problem. And yeah, I mean, there's some downsides to this a lot of downsides to this whole pandemic thing, but there's also, opportunity and some silver linings that need to be looked at from everybody. And if your business isn't set up to capitalize on some level of online, even services, you need to figure out how you're going to compete, because it's not going to ever go back to the way it was. We've already created that shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've already seen the shift just in the conversations I'm having with clients in my service business and a lot of those things. And I'm gearing my team and our stuff up for growth, because we're looking at all of this stuff saying we're going to shift into some high growth phases here in the next little while. So
it'll be a high demand for your services.
Absolutely. So my next question for you has to do with your superpowers, right? This is you individually. What is it that you do or build or offer that you think helps really solve problems for people? Things that, we say you use to slay the world's villains. The way I've been framing this for my guests recently is if you look at your set of skills that you developed over the years, you probably have one skill or maybe two skills that really energize everything else, that sort of is your zone of genius, the thing that you bring to your company that really helps help you do what you do.
Yeah, it's probably twofold for the most part. One thing is I'm very good at taking an idea and making it a reality. In terms of I can see if that's where I want to go. I can figure out very quickly what the pieces are that need to go into place. Even if I don't know how to do them, I can figure out what they are and make it happen and bring the rest of the team into alignment to get that done. It just was something I've always been able to do. I see it, I know exactly what to do, and I'm off to the races while everybody else is still figuring out, okay, this is what we have to do. What's the first step? And we're already 3 steps into it. The other aspect of it from our education side is really where my true passion, what I consider one of my greatest superpowers, is from the teaching front. I'm really good at taking complex and convoluted topics or things and breaking them down into a very easy and teachable format with energy that people can follow. I don't teach like Ferris Bueller, the day off or the owner. It's very, I take stuff that people are like, man, this would be really boring, but I really enjoy the way you taught it, and I can conceptualize what you're teaching. So that's been one of our big things in our education side of our business, is our students get massive results. The information we have is good, but it's also and my superpower is in the way we teach it and break it down for people.
So I've always called that superpower the ability to take the cookies and put them on the lower shelf. Right? That's always been my metaphor for that, right? Is you can take the cookies up here, you can put them down where everyone can.
And I have to have them on the lower shelf because I'm not that tall. So it's important that I'm good at doing that.
That's the way it goes. But the other thing that you mentioned, which is seeing a big end goal and being able to know where to start. I've always been really fascinated by that skill in particular, because it's something that you see a lot of CEOs have, right? And it's sort of like a visionary skill. And I'm just curious from a tactical perspective, is it something where you actually see an end goal and you start working backwards to see what the steps are? Or how does that actually happen in your head? And does it happen slow enough for you to actually see the steps to explain it to someone else?
So actually, you pointed out one of the pitfalls of my skill, is that it happens in my head, and it happens so quickly that it's very hard for people often to keep up, and for me to I'm already 4 steps ahead, and it's like my COO still's like, whoa, dude, I have questions. And I'm like, bro, we're already moving. Like, what do you have?
like we're done. We're way past that.
I already said go. You should be running right now. It's funny because our whole team, we have a 45-person team, and we just all collectively did the Gallup strength assessment, strength finder test, and where it finds it ranks your 5 things, and we ranked all of ours, and we're having a coach go through and organize them and look at our different pods in our company to see how they all interact with each other. It's really cool. But that was one of the things in mine, was it actually pointed out that, yes, this is a thing of mine. And in my head, like, okay, this is the goal, or this is what we're going to do. I want this end result. And in my head, it's like a picture, and it's like, okay, boom, this is it. And then I just start seeing like chunks of the things that have to happen, like the major milestones. And I'm already, like, when I see whatever the closest milestone is to me in my head, is where does that sound? I already start moving towards it. And as I'm moving, I'm like, okay, the next thing I got to do is I got to build this site, and I got to create this page. And I have this list. Actually, a good example, when we did the product launch for the book the first time, the team's like, oh, cool, we're almost done. Like, we've only got this. And I'm like, oh no, we have this. And I started talking, and they were listing out, and for about 10 minutes straight, I kept listing out little bullet points of all the different things, the emails, the links that had to go in the emails, and all the stuff that had to happen. And my team was sitting there, and they're like, where do you have that written down? And I'm like, I don't, I just thought of it. Like, I just know that's what I have to do to make this book, with the complete funnel and all the fulfillment and everything that goes along with it, and the members area and the auxiliary content and the affiliate program. These are all the pieces that have to be in place before that book can go live. And it just comes into my head that way. And now it didn't just come into my head from day one that way. I've got, 19, 18 years of doing this type of stuff that has given me that skill set. But even if I don't have the knowledge, I still usually know conceptually the pieces enough to move forward and align the other pieces now.
Yeah, and it's really a fascinating skill too, because one of the things you mentioned is, like, you see the first milestone and you immediately start moving towards it. And I actually think that's it's sort of a fatal flaw a lot of entrepreneurs don't do. Is they wait until they're ready for something, instead of realizing that part of the process of becoming ready is actually taking the action and doing the things.
You're never going to be ready.
Yeah. And it's a habit that you have to train yourself to get into, right? Unless you have that natural inclination like you do. But like for me, it's something I have to train myself to get good at, is to just take action first, move forward. And it's, because it's easier to correct the course of a ship that's moving than it is to change the direction of a ship that's not moving.
100%, yes. Yep. And that's not to say we don't screw things up or have to backtrack or change or pivot or whatever. We always do. But we're, one of the things that makes us good is we're pretty good at pushing and moving. And our team actually we're developing. It's funny, when I was talking about the Gallup thing, that push forward thing in Gallup is called Achiever. And that's one of the things that you have. Our entire C-level executive team and our first tier below that, every single one of the people in those about 11 positions have Achiever somewhere in their top 5.
Nice.
Not intentional, but you attract kind of, our culture and dictates. And I would say, I don't know the exact, but it's over 70% of our 45 people have that Achiever trait in their top 5. I don't know. It could be higher. It could be a little lower, but it's a massive amount of our people. So we're all very much action takers, let's do it and then figure out what else we have to do.
So
which
do you find
get you in trouble though?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you find that you have to have people on the team who are more on the, so the Achiever is really the ready, fire, aim. And then the flip side of that is the ready, aim, fire, right? Do you have to have those people to hold you back a little bit, like, hey, wait, we gotta.
Yeah, so it does help. It does help now. I mean, I would have told you, because the majority of my career was as a solopreneur, or window cleaning. I had like 60 employees, but that didn't really count. But like in the online space, it was mostly solopreneur to like 2 to 3 people max on my team. Now we're at 45 people with, COO, CMO, CTO, like the whole shebang. And yes, once your team starts moving, I think that's very important that you have the people that can stop and take that more analytical look. Zach is really good about that. He'll ask me, the whole team going. But if he doesn't get those questions answered, he can't move.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's super important to have those people. But as a solopreneur, honestly, I think having if you have to pick one or the other, it's better just to get out there and go, because you can pick up the pieces. You can adapt much easier than you can if you have a team of people moving, than you can if it's you're like a speedboat. You can turn on a dime.
Yeah.
Big ships take more turning.
And people appreciate it when you apologize and you make a mistake more than if you never make a mistake ever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important things to learn. So the flip side of the superpower then is obviously the fatal flaw, right? Just like Superman has his kryptonite, or Batman's just a ninja, he's not actually a superhero. What would you say your fatal flaw has been in growing your business and, having the position that you do? And how have you worked on that for people who are listening who might struggle with the same kind of thing?
So my fatal flaw is definitely tied to everything we were just talking about. It's my greatest strength. It's also a great weakness. I have the ability, or my strengths have the ability to burn people out, because make them feel inadequate and make them feel like because they don't think the way that I do, that I don't value what they have input on. And I can't, if I'm explaining, hey, this is what we're doing, and then you have questions, my flaw is that I'm like, why the hell do you have questions? Like, seriously, I just told you what we're doing. Let's go do it. We could have been done already. And that is not a good feature for a CEO who has a team of 45 people that he has to actually inspire and lead the vision to get them going. So I have to be very aware of it. And honestly, I would say that 17 of the 18 to 19 years that I've been doing this kind of stuff, I was not aware of that. I just thought, what the hell is wrong with all these people? Why can't they get in line with what I'm trying to do? And it's only been recently, as we've really grown the company and done a lot of emotional intelligence work, taking classes and really paying attention and to what's going on, that I've become aware that I have that impact and aware of what other people are seeing and saying, and the personality types that, I have to be aware of that don't necessarily not jive with what I have, but they don't relate the same way that I do. So I need to make sure that I can approach it in a different way, step back, look at it from their position. So that, and the fact that
because I know
my intensity burns people out.
So I'm very familiar with the disc profile system. If we were looking at the disc profile, you'd be a high D. And on the other side of the high D, you have the high S's, and the high D and a high S in the same room, you'd make them cry.
I definitely can do that. And I have. And it's not just in business though. This is me, right? So this is how I am in life. It affects my family, it affects my kids, it affects all of it. So, and it's something that I'm very grateful to now be aware of and be able to work on it. And, since I have been aware of it, I've discovered a whole bunch of stuff about my wife and our relationship, my kids, everything has improved since I've realized, that fatal flaw, and that I actually can, it's not a foregone conclusion. I can not necessarily control it, but I can adapt it and I can adjust to, not have it negatively impact those around me.
Yeah. I have a similar way that I operate, and was blessed with a daughter or two that are on the opposite side of that spectrum. Yep. And it's very helpful to have a little girl who loves the crap out of you, that you have to be very conscious of how you act, or you end up with a bundle of tears. And I found that has been helpful for training myself.
Yep. My daughter is very much that same way. She's got a lot of my, the toughness, but she also has that super soft. And my son is like bull in a china closet. He's me. You don't care what I say.
Yeah. My
daughter, or how I act, he could care less. My daughter though, it's like, oh my gosh, now we're crying, and I have to figure that out. But yeah, it definitely makes me more aware. It makes me better in companies, in my work too.
Yeah, I have a lot of times where I'm like, oh, and I made her cry. I don't know how I made her cry. Yep. There we go. And we're broken down in tears. I've gotten really good at doing we do pity parties now. So it's like, just sit on my lap, you can cry on my shoulder, and I'll just be here for you. Even though I don't understand what I'm being here for.
Yeah, have your moment.
Have your moment. So my next question for you has to do with your common enemy. And the common enemy is something that, I think it probably would be most helpful if we picked one of the audiences that you work with, maybe your EI members or your amplified partners. It's something that you constantly like bang your head in the wall against, that you constantly struggle with your clients, that if you had a magic wand, you could just wave it and get rid of that thing. What would it be? What's the thing that you have to fight against all the time with your clients, with the service that you do?
I guess the biggest thing is, there's so much noise in the marketplace in almost anything, right? There's good advice, bad advice, just so much of it. It's hard to filter out what's good. But the number one thing in the e-commerce space that we deal with our clients is their belief that if they just got more traffic, their problems would go away. Like, if I could just get more traffic, I would make more sales. If I could just get cheaper traffic, I'd be profitable. It's always traffic related. And the reality is, traffic is not your problem in e-commerce. It never is the problem. There is an infinitely abundant amount of traffic available out there that will convert for you if you're set up and able to handle it. One of my favorite books is The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And he talks about how most companies don't die from starvation. They die from indigestion, meaning that you're not dying from a lack of traffic. You're dying from an inability to digest that traffic into sales. And that is the reality of e-commerce. Most e-commerce companies don't sell to their customers more than one time. It's like 90+% of e-commerce companies sell to their customers only one time. So they're not doing that. They're also not, they throw up a store or a funnel, and then that's it. That's up. It must be good. Now I spend all my time buying traffic courses and learning how to get cheaper CPMs and Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and Snapchat traffic and all this other crap. And yet the fact is, you have a 0.6 conversion rate or a 1% conversion rate. That means that for every 100 people you get to your store who clicked on an ad meaning they were interested in what you had, only one bought. So your thing is, let's get 100 more, I'll get one more sale. If I get 200, I'll get 2 sales. Why not fix that 1, make that a 4 or a 6 or an 8? And it's not just conversion though, it's also average order value, lifetime customer value, all those different things, but none of those are focused on. We host a big event called Build, Grow, Scale Live, and we survey everybody, and the event sales page literally says, we will not teach you traffic strategies. We won't teach you anything about traffic. The whole thing is about how to optimize your store and everything else. The survey, we ask them an entrance survey and we have an exit survey. On both of them, there's always the huge thing is, we wish you had taught us traffic, or I need more traffic. I'm like, what is wrong? Like, get that through your head. They don't need more traffic. They literally need to be able to digest the traffic they're getting better. And once they can do that, they'll never have a traffic problem again.
Yeah, it's interesting because I work a lot with people who do the educational funnels, right? Where they're, doing like the book funnel, like you held up earlier and things like that. And I regularly have clients come to me and we get on like our strategy call to go through like their funnel and what they're doing. And they're like, my biggest problem is I just need to be able to get twice as much traffic for less money, right? Or I need to, they're always interested in I just need more traffic. If I could just double the amount of traffic I was getting, then I would, fix all my problems. And I was like, what if we just kept the same amount of traffic and we added an order bump here? Or we did some stuff, we actually build out a funnel, do an upsell, actually increase the average order value or increase our conversion rates and things like that. And I'll build a little Excel model and be like, here's your version. And, you can scale it up and down with traffic, and you notice it, the profitability never changes, right? Doesn't matter how big you scale it, you're still stuck at whatever your profitability level is.
You just create bigger problems.
You just create scaling problems now, you were talking about with your kitchen brand.
Oh man, that was a nightmare. And that was exactly what we were doing. We were pouring more traffic. It's like, if some is good, more is better, right? It's like you water a flower with a fire hose, you're going to destroy the flower.
Yeah. And so we'll do the other model where we'll show them hey, so here's we can take a funnel it's like a book funnel that you start with like a $7 or $9 sale, and you add a single order bump to it, and the average order value goes from $7 to 21, and it changes the game completely. Like that's just one thing. And like that's what you guys do with e-commerce stores, is you show people that there's more to it than just adding more traffic to the front
totally end. I mean, our example that we always talk about is the leaky bucket, right? You know, your business is the bucket, and your business is leaking all the time. It's full of holes. And the water coming into the bucket is your traffic, and the water that falls out of it is lost sales, wasted money, lost opportunity. Why pour more money into a bucket that keeps leaking? Our thing is, let's fix the bucket. Let's patch as many of the holes as we can, and then turn up the traffic. And then that way, all the water that stays in is captured sales. And people just don't seem to get that. Yeah. And when we do finally get through to them, when they, like the people who come to us, it's like literally the light bulb goes off, and all of a sudden their struggling or mediocre store turns into a behemoth. It starts, you know, in our e-com insider program that you mentioned, our average conversion rate, our benchmark, is over 4%. Like that's, people cry when their conversion rate's 4%. You know, because they're like, oh, it dropped from what? From 6 or 8, you know? And conversion rate is just a vanity metric anyway. There's a lot more important stuff, profitability and actual money you keep in your pocket. But, you know, at least 8 out of 100 are getting converted into a sale versus the industry average of 1 to 1.5.
So I just had an idea for you based on what you said. I know you guys are working on a new course for you. What do you call it? A way to talk about it. You could start calling it like build a better bucket.
Build a better bucket. That's good. That's true. That's one of our biggest examples. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So if you're going to do a beginner's course for people, you could you talk about building a better bucket from the ground up, so it doesn't have holes in it.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, there you go. That's my value add for the podcast today.
You got it.
So my next question for you is the flip side of the common enemy. So the common enemy is what you fight against. The driving force is what you fight for, right? So just like Spider-Man fights to save New York, or Batman fights to save Gotham, or Google fights to index and categorize all the world's information, what is it that you guys fight for at Build, Grow, Scale?
So our big thing is I mean, obviously we're in the e-commerce space, and our preferred audience, the people we truly want to help, are the small businesses, the e-compreneurs, the physical product sellers that are, you know, we work with some big stores too, but the ones we have, you know, the greatest impact helping are the mom and pop, you know, shops, the small businesses that are, you know, they're stuck, and they have good product. They're good people. They're doing everything that they think they're doing right. They just need a little help to go up. And that, you know, we like helping them. That's our focus. And our goal is what we have. Like, we always call ourselves the best kept secret in e-commerce. And no, actually, we don't call us that. Our customers call us that. But our joke is, we're not trying to be a secret. Like, because what we have literally can revolutionize the modern day e-commerce industry. Because it's such a different way of thinking, and it's not a concept that's going to be saturated. It's literally just an applicable thing to all businesses. So that's our goal. That's who we're trying to help. That's the common good that we're trying to solve. Is we want to help the e-compreneurs, you know, build their businesses, because the small business owner is the one that changes America. They're the ones that make the world a better place. They create the most jobs. They create the most impact. They change the economies. It's not the big companies, it's the small companies. And those are the ones.
That's why we invite them onto the podcast and have them tell their stories.
Yeah.
So I have sort of a meta level question for you that you just sort of popped into my head. And it has to do with, like, you told your whole story about all the different things you've done in your business and in your life. And it seems to me like you hit a point where you became laser focused on a single outcome and your business exploded.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that concept and how you can get yourself there if you're not there yet in your business, right? Having that laser focus. Yeah.
So that actually is, truthfully, if I had to say, there's one secret to my personal success, or mine and Matt's success, and that's a principle called success by subtraction. And I used to believe that the more things I had going, the more successful I was, and the better I was and everything else. There was a time when I had equity in like 15 different companies where I was actively working, and I almost killed myself doing that. I actually collapsed on stage right before I got on stage at my event and had to go to the hospital. It was a major turning point in my life. But it wasn't until a few years after that where really embrace this simplicity by success by subtraction principle, which is if you have focus, right? You have this ball of focus, and we've all seen a diagram of this before. But when you have multiple things, like say I have 5 things, well, my focus goes in 5 directions. Nothing gets the full impact. Whereas if I only have one thing, all my energy, all my focus goes towards that one thing, and it gets all my attention. What gets attention gets improved, and it grows. The same concept can be another example of that would be taking 5 glasses and dropping a marble, which represents time, money, and energy into each one. And you keep doing that. Which one fills up first? Which one really grows? None of them really do. None of them, yeah. But if you just pick one and you drop it all into there, it gets all your time, all your focus, all your money, all your attention, it explodes. And when we finally started embracing that, and the magic of that power is literally the word no. The more we said no and meant it, the more money we made, the easier our life got, the more successful the company got, the better our team got. The more we focus and drill down to just the one true focus that we want to do, it took off. There's even things within our focus that we thought that are good things. Like we had a mastermind called Black Label. One of my favorite things we ever did. I had it for 3-4 years. We ran that. We finally had to do subtraction and success by subtraction. We looked at it. We said, you know what? This is actually a distraction from our true focus, and we actually can make more impact by cutting this out, shutting it down, or temporarily. In my mind, it's always temporarily because it makes it easier for me to live with. And it may be temporarily or it may not be. But if I ever said I've shut it down forever, I could have never shut it down. So you have to figure out how to work with your own brain to make those things happen. But once we did that, which most people would say, oh, well, that fits within your business model, you should keep it. That's not true. It was a distraction from the main push, the main focus. And as soon as we dialed in on that, it's been, ridiculous growth. And so life gets a lot easier.
So I have some interesting questions just in light of that, because it's something like that I'm struggling with in my own head right now as my business grows. Like I'm not sure when this will air, but like tax day was yesterday, right? I just had my biggest tax bill I've ever gotten from the government, which is kind of a cool place to be in. Yep. I have to start looking at more advanced tax strategies, so that's always fun. But one of the things that I'm looking at now is I want to start diversifying income a little bit and putting money into maybe real estate or into some other, maybe dividend paying stocks and stuff like that. How do you what would you say? How do you keep that together with having a very singularly focused business and realizing that personally you still might want to take the profits and the stuff that you do in your business and put them into other things without letting that distract your focus?
So first, I think it's almost looking at 2 different things, but one thing I will say is that's the most important thing you can do. If I had kept even half of all the money that I have blown on stupid stuff, I could have my own island right now. But I didn't. I made money. I spent, ridiculous amounts of money, went out. I had a great life, had a lot of fun, didn't have anything to show for it. It wasn't until I grew up a little bit that I realized, oh, you know what? I should have kept some of that. So 100%, you should be taking the money from your business, reinvesting some of it, but always putting some aside and then investing that into things that can grow your money without you doing it. That 100%. And then Matt and I are big believers in that. Build, grow, scale is our living, but build, grow, scale for us is not an exitable company. We're not trying to exit it. It's our passion, it's our play. But the money that we make from that goes into other ventures that we can, potentially exit or just grow on their own and make money, whether they're hard money loans, real estate, things like that.
So the question is, how do you keep that from distracting your focus?
So you have to do a couple things. Number one, if it's a passion area, let's say you like options trading or something like that. If you want to do that and that's your thing, your hobby or something, it's cool. But don't try to build a business and then a course and then a service and then everything else doing that. Just make that your thing. But if you want to start investing, doing options and real estate and hard money lending and all these different things are not the right thing. Right? You personally can't do that. The only way you could is if you assembled a team where someone actually runs that for you and they report to you. The other way that we do it, we do a lot of real estate investing as well. We don't actively do it ourselves. We go through a guy who actually does that's his business, and we become investors and partners with him. Yeah. Or if you can't become a partner, you find someone who actually needs money for flips or for whatever else, and you just become a silent investor. That way you get in the real estate market, but you're not actually doing it. Or you pay him to find you a property if you want to get rental, but you don't actively go out and learn the expertise and become the person who can go do those things. Because again, it's a distraction off your main focus. If I'll give up, and I used to not think this way, but I'll easily give up, 5 or 6 points if I can not have to touch it and it's going to work. And let someone else do it.
Returns a small piece of the pie with no time and focus investment.
But yes, that's a big thing too, because it can be very easy. Like I got really into hard money loans for real estate and different people. And I got really excited about that and was like building out this thing, getting all into it. And I realized that it was taking so much time away from my actual running of the business that I had to stop doing it. I was just like, okay, well, I'll loan on this. I can loan on cars over 8%. I can do all this different thing and have all these different people paying me money and making interest on it. And I said, you know what, this isn't going to work. I'm just going to find one. Actually, I have 3 people now they're the only people I lend hard money to. And they can take as much as they need, but that way I don't have to deal with 70 different loans and tracking them down, because it becomes a full-time job. As these 3, it's very simple. We have a system, it works, and I keep making money. And one of them has the demand that he has more business than he can handle. So he needs more money than I can give him, which is great. So whenever I have extra, I can throw it at him and it gets invested.
That's really awesome. That's a good way to think about it too, because I'm not there yet, but I know that's where the trajectory is. So it's good to to hear a little bit of how you're thinking about that aspect of growing your business and how you keep your focus. So thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So my next question for you is more on the practical side, right?
Okay.
So we call this the hero's tool belt, right? Maybe you got a big magical hammer like Thor, or a bulletproof vest like your neighborhood police officer, or maybe you just really love Evernote. What are some of the tools that you guys use at Build, Grow, Scale that you couldn't live without, that you couldn't do what you do for your clients without those tools? And just a couple, maybe 1 or 2 of the big ones that you guys use all the time.
So from the big standpoint, there are three big tools that we could not live without, one of which most people can afford. The other 2, they might not want to because they are pricier. Lucky Orange for browser tracking and heat mapping and all of that kind of stuff is just amazing. Session recording, we use that a ton. We're one of their biggest users on the platform. We use more impressions than almost any other customer they've had. Then cool. We also use convert.com is what we use for split testing. Google Optimize is great for smaller sites, but when you want to get into the big stuff, convert.com is a great tool for that. And then one of the ones that helps us find massive wins is Browser Stack. And Browser Stack is a total geek tool that allows you to basically, because all browsers, every time a new update comes out, doesn't mean everybody updates to the new browser. So people are on different versions of browsers. So Browser Stack lets you test every browser along every version, and you can see how your sites perform and go back and figure out what you need to fix on each different browser segment. Some of the biggest wins in a store's performance can be found in browser testing.
Interesting. So I'm just out of curiosity, I know a lot of your partners and whatnot operate on the Shopify platform. Does Shopify offer the ability to do things like speed enhancements? Because I know speed is a really big deal for conversion.
Yeah, so they don't offer anything like that, but the ability to do it is there in the code. There's simple things you can do like optimizing your images and things like that. But from a code standpoint, there's a lot that can be done to speed up a Shopify store. Some of it's simple, some of it's pretty intense to do, but it does make a big difference. Speed is one of the most important things that you can do. Amazon actually reports that for every 1 second of speed increase performance that they get on their store, their conversions go up by 2%. Now they obviously are so optimized already that they can't gain a second all the time, but they're constantly micro tuning to get that fraction of a second because it means a massive impact to them. So, and we see the same kind of numbers. Speed is huge.
Yeah, and I know with your Amazon size, 2% change over 1 billion transactions is a lot of money.
Yes, it is. Even a fractional piece of that is a big chunk.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason I ask is because a lot of the other platforms are generally self-hosted. right? So everything from like WooCommerce or BigCommerce, stuff like that, where you control the server, but something
Correct.
like Shopify, you don't control the server. So you don't, that's like a big chunk of your speed stuff. And I was just curious where that fit in for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, there are some limitations anytime you use a hosted platform. You know, the truth of the matter is, whether you're on WordPress, like doing WooCommerce or Magento or BigCommerce, or I mean, even 3D Cart or any of the other ones, not that I would ever suggest anybody go on 3D Cart. It's just very antiquated, but any of those platforms or Shopify, there's some part of your site that's making server calls, like external calls, whether it's from an app or something else that you're using, or a plugin or something. It's calling external files that you're waiting on as part of your load time. So you do your best you can, and then you can also do lazy load techniques where you're having certain things load later in the queue to make sure that everything that's more important gets loaded first, and then those lagging ones you can let come later. So there's a lot of different tricks you can work around to deal with this stuff where you actually have to call out or wait for other server times. And Shopify, for their thing, they've done a pretty good job, and they are of keeping their server speeds up and making things faster. The ones that have not, that really suck at that, and sorry Russell, but it's ClickFunnels. They have some of the slowest server call type stuff. You cannot do hardly anything to improve page performance and speed on a ClickFunnels page, which sucks. So I love the platform. It's slow.
So my curious question for you then is just, of all the things that you can do to improve conversion for a website, what's your guys' first like go-to that you recommend to clients all the time? Is it something like server speed, or is it like tracking, setting up tracking? Like, what's one of the big things that you guys always start with for, like, hey, if you're not doing this, you should just do it immediately?
Yeah, the number one thing is setting up Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager correctly. And that's the problem. Honestly, it's amazing software. It's an amazing program. The problem is it's not user-friendly. It's not very easy to set up correctly. And the problem is it will report data, however you have it set up, as if that data is accurate. You have no way to know that. It's not going to say, oh, this data might not be accurate. It's just going to show it to you, and you're going to think it's good. We've never, in all the years we've been doing this, we've never had a single store that we've worked on come in with their data perfect. Even our own, we've had to fix our own, and we've gotten really good at it. But clients will always say, oh yeah, our data is perfect, we've got it good. And we go in there and we realize, nope, it's not. We change it, and they realize that a lot of their stuff that they were making decisions on was inaccurate. So the first thing we do, go in and dial in Google Analytics, set up Google Tag Manager, and tag every aspect of the site, every link, every image, every video, everything, every button. So no matter what's clicked on, we can track it all the way through to the end conversion and see, people who click on the About Us page, what do they convert at? People who watch 30 seconds of this video, they convert at this. People who watch 45 seconds convert at this. And we start collecting that data, because Google Analytics data is only forward collecting. It's not, you can't go backwards. So the sooner we can get that, the sooner we can start establishing what their true baselines are and look for gaps in the data to optimize on. And then we find the low-hanging fruit. The second thing, once we get the data going, is we start working on bounce rate.
So bounce rate is that when someone hits a page and then leaves versus hits the page and continues on?
Yep, hits the page however long, and then they leave. So the idea is to reduce bounce rate as low as possible so that more time on site. That typically bounce rate is caused by a couple main things. The biggest things is slow sites and sites that cause confusion or don't provide clarity that they're actually in the place that they want to go. So they click off an ad expecting to go to a purse store, and they land on a store that looks like Walmart. But they just clicked on a purse. Like, why am I not seeing that purse? That confusion causes.
Yeah, like, where's the purse?
Yeah. So they exit. Those kind of things.
Continuity.
Yep. Yeah. The clarity and the consistency, but the speed is the number one, especially on mobile. Because you think about it, when mobile stuff loads slow, we're already doing mobile because we have no attention span. So it's even worse when the site doesn't load on mobile fast. Or poor user experience on mobile as well.
Like, I have a lot of patience because I do web development, but if you get to like 3 or 4 seconds, I'm leaving.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there's an example. One of our favorite companies we like to buy cars from. Matt and I go to Charlotte and McLaren. They're a great company, good guys. We love them. Their website is so terrible on mobile that when we were trying to look at cars and it just does not work. And we were in the airport when we were doing this the first time, because we had talked to the guys on the phone. They're like, yeah, just go to our website. We called them back and said, guys, we literally are over the car. Like, and they're like, why? It's beautiful. Like, we can't even find it. The website was so bad that we almost never did business with them. If it wasn't for the personal phone support from the owners, we would never have bought cars from them.
That's amazing. Yeah, and it does. It changes the game for people. And I know, if you just anecdotally talking to people like my wife and other people that I interact with on a regular basis, they have a lot less patience than I do.
Oh yeah.
Right. Because so they're like, if it doesn't work the way that I think it should work, like the first time, like they're just deleted. Like, not even like I'm going to go back there or talk about them. There's just like that, never again.
Yeah, you're out of my life. Yep. We are not Facebook friends anymore. You're done. We're done, right? Like, life is over for that person.
Block that company. Yep. Don't show me their ads anymore.
My wife's the same way.
Want to talk.
And she's a perfect consumer. Like, my wife loves to buy everything. So, but she does. If a site doesn't work the way she thinks it is, and that's the important person that it should work for, is the end user. That's the other thing. Store owners all the time, we get on a store and we're like, I try to do something, and I'm pretty good at stores. Like, I know how to make them work. And I'm like, wait a minute, this wasn't right. And they'll be like, oh, well, you have to go here to do that because of this. And I'm like, are you on the phone with every person who visits your site to tell them that? Well, no. So then how do they know? Because the site works for you, the store owner, because you know the ins and outs, but the end user can't use it.
Yeah. And drive you bonkers. So my next question for you has to do with your own personal heroes, right? So just like Frodo had Gandalf, or Luke had Obi-Wan, or Robert Kiyosaki had his rich dad, who are some of your heroes? Were they real-life mentors, peers who were a couple of years ahead of you, maybe speakers or authors? And how important were they to what you've accomplished so far in your life and your businesses?
Well, for sure, Yoda. Like, he's number one. Yeah, Yoda's big.
Do
Boba
or do
Fett.
not.
Yeah, and then Boba Fett. He's just like I want armor like that. He's just awesome. But in real life, I would say a current hero / mentor who I have not yet met, who I plan to, is Road Less Stupid, Keith Cunningham. That he has had a massive impact in the way I've reshaped, and Matt and I both have. And actually, it's the required reading in our company, that important of a book. But yeah, he's been very influential just in the way he thinks about business and like the common things that we don't like to admit or think about as business owners, like the whole starvation over indigestion type thing. It's true, but we don't look at it that way. We like to Band-Aid stuff instead of solve the actual problem. He's probably the most current guy that I'm like really, really enamored with. I love watching, some of the bigger guys. Like, I like seeing what Elon and those guys are doing, just from a big picture. Like, man, you literally can do anything you want. Like, those guys are proof that anything in the world is possible. Hell, I want to have a rocket company and put people on the moon. Cool. I want to launch my Roadster into space.
So he just does it.
Yeah. So whenever I start having like those kind of like self-doubt, like, oh, we can't do that, I like to look at guys like that and just be like, of course I can. I can do anything I want. Like, look at that. Like, if he can launch his car into space just cause, I can for sure launch this next course, or, go change the e-com industry, things like that. So get
the book written or do whatever it is you're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's so we limit ourselves so heavily. But I actually also get inspired by just, most of our clients, like seeing these guys taking a business, an idea from scratch, grinding, putting to the blood, sweat, and tears, and staying the course to develop these amazing companies that are transforming their industries, their space, and making a big deal. Like, I love watching that, and I get ideas from them and inspiration all the time.
Absolutely. That's really cool. And I like I do the same thing where you look at people who are like doing really cool things. And you're like, I know that I'm at least as smart as that guy or that girl. like there's, if he can do it, I can do it.
I will totally own up to the fact that I do not think I'm as smart as Elon. I'm not that kind of brainiac. Like, that's just not the way I think, but I do believe that anything's possible.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm on Elon's level, but there's a lot of people that you see in business. You're like, I don't know how that guy can even like tie his shoes in the morning and he's running this
Oh,
huge
totally,
business.
totally. Yeah. And, but for sure. And it's, I think that's the self-belief, because the biggest critic we ever have in our life is ourselves, right? We're the ones that are going to be harder and ruder and meaner. Like, honestly, if we had the opportunity, we wouldn't even be friends with ourselves, because no one is going to be as mean to us as ourselves. Like, we would not choose to be friends with us. So if we just need to distance ourselves from that and realize that it's all head trash. It's all in your head telling you that you can't do something, or whatever's stopping you from doing it. It's only you. There's nobody else stopping you. And that's not cheeseball, but it's really true. Like, when you really, really get down, remember that you are not your best friend. You actually are really mean to yourself.
And that's actually one of the reasons why we talk about, your heroes, right? Because it's those people that help you get over your own head trash, right? In some form or fashion. So.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of getting out of my own head trash would really be my COO, Zach, and my business partner, Matt. Those two, like, we collectively together spend a lot of time talking each other out of our own stupidity and head trash and just like self-doubt stuff. We actually build that into we have 2 weekly calls that are dedicated to that.
Yeah, I actually, I have my best friend and I do that. We run separate companies, but we do that all the time. We get on the phone a couple times a week. And literally it's just like, hey, it's like, you should stop thinking that way. It's your own head trash. Got to get out of it, move on, get it done.
You need it.
And yeah, you got to have your running partners, whether they're, like you, a co-owner or a CEO or something like that, or, running partner in another business. It's really an important aspect of, having someone to kick you in the ass when you're,
totally
when you need it.
Yeah. And even just reassure you that you're good and that everything is okay. One of the things that Matt does to me all the time is I'll be like, oh man, this sucks. Like, we're not doing well, or something's bad. And he's like, do you need me to loan you money for groceries? Are you okay? And I'm like, shut up. Like, I'm fine, but that's his thing. Like, and it pisses me off every time, because like, I'm acting like the world is ending. And he's like, dude, do you need money for groceries? Because you're really not that, nothing's wrong. Literally,
he's like, stop being a toddler. You're fine.
We had an ad turned off, it's not a big deal,
That's funny. I could totally see that being a thing that like I would need, right? Where it's like, you just like blow up because it's not working, and someone just kicking the ass, be like you're breathing, you have food, you have a wife, you have beautiful children, like the sun
that's
came
exactly
up
what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And he knows how to needle me on it, and it just pisses me off to no end, but it gets me out of that little tirade and funk.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to bring it home for our listeners and talk a little bit about your guiding principles. This is our last sort of question. And what are the top 1 or 2 principles or actions that you personally put in place every single day that you think has a impact and contributes to the success and influence that you guys enjoy at Build, Grow, Scale?
So I think a big part of it is, well, for me, I mean, I have like morning routine, some kind of consistency to your day every day. One thing for our company though, like we have a gratitude practice in our company that all of our team members start the day with a gratitude post in Slack that we all get to be a part of. And it's a 3-part thing. And I'll explain why. The first part is gratitude for something in some person, place, or thing in your personal life and why. Gratitude for something in your professional life, person, place, or thing, and why. Gratitude for something about yourself and why. And those 3 things, and we post that. And so, people have all seen this stuff about gratitude. Like it literally can like change the neuroplasticity in your brain and like rewire your brain for happiness and positivity and better thoughts. And I didn't buy into all that crap for a long time. And now I literally eat, sleep, and breathe it. Because we saw the complete shift in our company and the happiness of our employees and just everything. So for us, gratitude is huge. And it's not much, it doesn't have to be material, but just gratitude, and everybody expressing it and reading everybody else's gratitude ties the community together, creates better culture, and everybody is just happier. For us, delivering excellence is a core guiding principle of who we are. We don't do anything without excellence, like anything that we do in the company, whether it's company facing or inward facing or external customer facing, is a big thing for us. And it's in our culture. If someone doesn't have that kind of belief about themselves and the way they want to operate and, they're not going to last in our world, because it just, not that we don't like them, they just don't fit. They won't feel comfortable. And the other thing is success by subtraction. Simplicity and focus is you know, that ball of energy. We can go one direction very, very well, or we can go 5 directions very shitty. So let's stay in that one direction.
I have a further sort of question on that, just in terms of like you having a larger team.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have your company's focus, like the one thing that you do, but how do you guys manage keeping people in the place where their focus is lined up directly with their zone of genius, right? Where they're operating in really good places. How do you guys manage that as a company?
So I'd love to take credit for that, but that's literally Zach, our COO. That's one of his skill sets, is figuring out, and he and Matt have spent a lot of time. We've done a lot of personality testing, a lot of different things like that, and, you know, interviewing and figuring out what our people are good at. We've had a lot of people in the wrong roles that we've moved around, and now that they were people, we actually, one of the girls on our team who's a rock star, we actually let her go and then realized, well, I think we just had her in the wrong position. We moved her to a new position, and she helped dial in our entire internship program to train all of our team members internally. And she's by far one of the most amazing people on our team, but we actually fired her and then brought her back. So to keep them focused though, on what they are, is that, you know, that's where it comes down to, we break things down into pods and groups of people. Like, they have different focuses and different things that they're supposed to focus on. The biggest part is me not coming in company-wide and going, okay, here's my new idea. Because that is what derails focus. Because they're like, our course curriculum team that's designing our course frameworks and all of our educational design stuff, they're working on it. And they're like thinking, okay, my job is to do educational design and map this out. And then I tell the company, okay, guys, tomorrow we're going to go create this, and we're going to onboard 75 AMP partners. And they're like, okay, so do I design course curriculum, or do I help AMP partners? That's how you keep them focused, is you don't let people like me get in there and throw all my 30,000 ideas that I have a day into the mix. That has to stay. You have
to have a filter.
Yeah, that goes between me, Zach, and Matt, and it does not get pushed out. But the other thing is there has to be a team lead, or a department lead, if you will, that has that ability to stay focused as like one of their core skill sets, you know, in terms of just how they operate. They don't get distracted easily. They're able to stay the course. And then they have to have regular check-ins with whoever their higher level is, and whether it's Zach or me or Matt, to, you know, make sure that what they're keeping their team focused on, is it still in alignment with the vision of whatever the next step of the process is. It's actually not that complicated to do, as long as you don't have that maniac monkey running around distracting everybody. And that's honestly what kills more big companies and teams, is that maniac monkey. And I have a lot of friends who are just like me, who are that maniac monkey, who it's basically like taking, like if your company is a horse and you have the reins, and you're just yanking the head around like this, and it doesn't know where to go, it can't even take a step, because you're so excited to go 75 different directions.
Yeah, absolutely. So it helps having someone to filter that, or give you a place to go and like get it all out, instead of getting it all in front of your team.
We do. I get it all, and they're like, okay, so of those, which one's the most important? Well, they all are. No, let's go break it down. You know, which one's the most important? Which one actually fits with what we're doing? So we kind of, you know, a process of elimination, and usually we wind up with none of them are the right thing. Because if you go with simplicity and focus and success by subtraction, the reality is that there are, there's lots of good ideas, but most good ideas are not for now, they're for later. So, and if it's really a good idea, unless it's Uber, then it's a good idea later too. Otherwise, it's not really a good idea. So if it's not the next Uber, it'll be a good idea later if it's truly a good idea. And you're better off staying focused on what you're doing.
It's not gonna die on the vine, waiting for its time.
Nope.
So that basically wraps up the interview portion. I have one last thing we do on our show every time. I call this the Heroes Challenge. It's pretty simple. We do it on every show. And it's basically, do you have someone in your life or in your network that you think has a cool entrepreneurial story? Who are they? First names are fine. And why do you think they should come on the Hero Show and share their story with our audience?
Yeah, a couple buddies.
It can't be Matt though, because Matt's already booked.
No, Matt's already on. Yeah, you should really get Matt on here. Well, honestly, if you want to talk more of like the team building stuff and how to structure and make things work with a big team, you should probably get Zach on here. But that'd be a lot of build, grow, scale people, and you probably want some diversity. So Vinny Fisher would be a good one to interview. Vinny is CEO of Fully Accountable. He's also built some massive 9-figure companies. He used to own BrainHost, built them from the ground up. He'd be really cool if you haven't had him. He's one of those crazy monkeys that yanks things around. He could tell you all kinds of stories about that and how to fix it. Another one would be Justin Singletary from fulfillment.com. Justin is ex-sniper ranger, done some really, really cool stuff, and then decided to move into the business world, built a ridiculously awesome fulfillment company. It has a really cool story and hero's journey, which is kind of like your show. So he'd be a good one to get on, and he'd love to do stuff like this. And you should probably get Patch on here. Patch has an awesome story.
Yeah, I've just been chit-chatting with Patch. He's a really neat guy.
Yeah, he's got a million things going.
I know, and he's very dedicated to what he's doing, really loves his audience and whatnot. That's cool to see. So at this point, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show, Tanner. Really appreciate it. My last question for you is, where can people find you? Where can they get a hold of you? What are some of the things that, like, pick up your book or hear some of your training or that kind of stuff? And who are like the ideal people to reach out to build, grow, scale?
Gotcha. So ideal people to reach out to build, grow, scale. We are launching a new, like a beginner's program, which we haven't had in the past. So if you're looking to start an e-commerce business, we can actually give you the foundational training now that will help you get going. If you're an established e-commerce business and you're looking to grow, we're definitely the ones to come to for that. And then, to find us, buildgrowscale.com is by far the easiest. You can find all of our different programs there. All of our free content are, with Richard's help, we've now got our podcast and our blog going. And actually our YouTube channel is going with some really awesome content. Actually, we just released a 6-part series on our blog that honestly we might take down and make a course because it's a little bit too detailed, but it's there for now. So if you guys want to check that out, again, buildgrowscale.com.
Go read it quick.
Yeah,
it's really good.
And then, if you want my book, go to Amazon, you can grab it. I would say go to our book funnel, but we're about to pull that down and change it around. So just go grab it on Amazon, get Prime shipping, and it'll knock you out, put you to sleep for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, Tanner. Really appreciate it. Do you have any final words of wisdom for our audience before we hit the little stop record button here?
Quit trying to do too many things. That's the biggest thing. Like, narrow it down, simplify, focus, and just drive home with that one thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tanner. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.